I'm Sarah Mueller. I'm here with former Governor Asa Hutchinson, who is at the Joni Ernst Roast and Ride event, ready to introduce himself to Iowa voters. What is the number one thing you want to get through to Iowa voters today?
Well, this is an introduction to me to a broad number of Iowans. I want them to understand who I am as a person, most of all, that I grew up on a farm, that I understand agriculture, that I identify with small communities that are representing the values of America. I also want to talk about my optimistic vision for America, how we can reduce spending, how we can secure our border, how we can be stronger across the globe and reduce the regulatory burden on businesses. This is what Iowa reflects. This is how you grow the private sector of our economy, which is critical to reducing the deficit and the debt that we have.
Well, you're right in the heart of the heartland in Iowa, and we know our agriculture real well here. So what do you think is the number one thing that you want to address as far as agricultural issues here in America?
Well, what you've got to do is to make sure that we continue the research in agriculture through our higher education so we can be top producers. We have to be able to expand global markets because we're great producers in our corn, our soybeans. In Arkansas, it's our rice, that we have global markets and access to those for the products that we produce. And then it's also about education and for America to understand the importance of agriculture to our lifestyle, to our health, to our future. And so these are things that a president can lead on. Obviously, to have a president understands our agriculture is critically important for our country.
Well, and you also have former experience in office as governor. What do you think you're bringing over as governor to the White House potentially?
Well, most importantly, governors know how to balance a budget. I did it for 8 years. Sometimes you had to tighten the belt. We had to lower expenses for the state. I reduced state employment, government employment by 3,000 workers. And so I understand balancing a budget. We lowered taxes, produced greater growth in the private sector of the economy, and we supported schools, and I left my successor with a $2 billion surplus. So a consistent conservative record as governor that is more challenging at the national level, but you have to start with the concept that we can do better, which relates to inflation and interest rates has been a double whammy on the Iowa farmers and consumers across America.
Now, while we're on the economic issues, obviously everybody's talking about that debt ceiling deal that Biden put in with McCarthy. What are your thoughts on that deal?
Well, everybody can look at it and say, well, I'd have preferred to have more in defense spending there. I'd like to have had more stringent requirements on work requirements, and there's always ways to say it could be done better. But I applaud Speaker McCarthy in standing up to President Biden and saying we've got to have a framework for reducing spending in the future. And it's not enough, but it's a good start. And so I'm glad that they had success in trying to set a stage for greater control of our federal spending down the road.
We're in a really unique campaign season right now because obviously we have Biden running as an incumbent. Trump is trying to run again. What do you think makes you stand out among all these people who are trying to go up against Trump?
Well, I hope it's a breath of fresh air. I hope it's a new approach to politics. It's a new voice of leadership. And whenever you look at the experience that I have, everything I've done in my life has prepared me for president that will help address the challenges that we face, from border security to the fentanyl crisis in our communities as I've headed up the DEA, to balancing a budget and controlling spending, to having strength of America that our allies across the globe can see, as I had post 9/11 responsibilities in securing the support of our allies. So that's the experience that we need to address the challenges that we face today.
And one final question as a follow-up. Obviously, you have a lot of neighbors who are also running for president right now. We got Tim Scott, we got Nikki Haley. They all bring different experiences as a former senator, a former UN ambassador. Now you're a former governor. What makes what differentiates you guys?
Well, we're all basically conservative, and so we'll talk a lot about the same issues. And what's wonderful about America is that every one of us has a different and unique American story to tell, and so that adds to the fabric of the campaigns, and it gives the voters great choices to make. Obviously, I'm going to make my case that both in terms of my experiences in life, but vision for this great country and the values that we have, and that I can support the national character. And so let's see who catches on, but I think the fact that we have more getting in demonstrates that the party really wants to have new leadership for the future, and I'm going to do everything I can to rise to the top.